In the late 1800s, most attention of the nation was going towards reconstruction of the South, while America was recovering from the bloodiest war in its history. However, while this was going on, industrialism was on the rise. Although industrialism played a major part of why the Union won the war, its spread was far from over. In 1870, New York's John D. Rockefeller founded Standard Oil. Throughout the next few years, the company would control 90% of America's oil refineries. John D. Rockefeller was considered a major philanthropist and one of the richest men to ever live. He donated close to $350 million to various causes in his lifetime. However, he and other industrial juggernauts were scrutinized for their illegal practices at the time. So this raises the question, were these business giants captains of industry or robber barons? Are they more philanthropic or unscrupulous? Let's find the answer out together. Stay tuned.
John D. Rockefeller. Oh, God.
Rockefeller started his business career by investing in a nearby oil refinery in Cleveland, Ohio in 1863. He made quite the profit and founded Standard Oil 7 years later. But let's backtrack a little bit. During this 7-year period, Little John did some naughty things. Here we can see Little John bribing certain railroad lines to side with his company. Here we can see Little John's making physical threats to aspiring oil businessmen. Finally, we can see Little John undercutting oil prices so deep that his opponent's family starve and his own workers go critically unpaid. But Rockefeller donated over $350 million to various medical and technological advances, so who cares about corruption, right? Let's look at our first political cartoon. This cartoon features Rockefeller to the right, holding a dagger in one hand and the skull of a competitor in the other. We can assume that Rockefeller is about to put the skull underneath the Standard Oil Company flower. Like we just discussed, Rockefeller used unlawful and grimy tactics to kill his opponents. Most business giants use similar tactics. Overall, we would consider Rockefeller and other leaders of industry to be more unscrupulous. However, oil was not the only industry to be monopolized. Andrew Carnegie was a Scottish immigrant who had a long road to success. At age 12, he and his family immigrated to America in search of better economic opportunities. Starting at age 20, he was the main source of income for the family. Eyeing westward expansion, he needed to build a bridge across the Mississippi River towards St. Louis, Missouri. Being the intellectual Carnegie he is, he hired a designer with no bridge building experience at all.
Oh my God, that's genius!
His name is James Eads.
Hey, James.
Oh, hey.
So you're good at building bridges, right?
No, not really. No.
Oh. Well, that's gonna complicate things.
Yeah, but I know that we need something stronger than iron or metal. Our freight cars couldn't possibly get over this monstrosity of a river.
Yeah, I kind of told you about that earlier.
Oh, really? I couldn't really remember.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking to this English lad named Henry Bessemer, and he supposedly has a method to drastically reduce the amount of time it takes to produce steel.
Really?
Yeah, let's go talk to him.
Hey guys, what's up?
You got the good stuff?
Oh yeah, I got the good stuff. I got the good stuff right here. Alright guys, come on, let's do this.
Let's go.
Years behind schedule.
Oh yeah, let's go.
It was just a piece of paper. Mr. Razum, please don't kill me. It was just a piece of paper, I swear. Anyways, let's move on to the building montage.
Well, guys, the bridge is complete. What do you think?
Well, is it safe?
Yeah, go ahead and try it, man. Of course it is.
Take it slow. Take it slow.
Take your time.
I think it's.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
While the Eads Bridge was successful in providing transportation across the Mississippi River, more importantly for Carnegie was the abundance of steel he could produce. Using the Bessemer method and ruthless efficiency, no one could touch Carnegie in the steel industry. One example of the government promoting big business during the Gilded Age was when William Whitney purchased large quantities of steel for U.S. shipbuilding. President Cleveland named Whitney his Secretary of the Navy in 1884. When he purchased the steel, however, prices were inflated, so even more money was given to Carnegie.
Hey guys, Raj here to actually do something. Can you believe that?
Hey guys, Raj here with some spicy second analysis. The government's agenda to promote big business is similar to the Enlightenment idea of laissez-faire economics. This idea is regarded as the first ideology relating to capitalism. This theory was invented by British economist Adam Smith. In 1776, Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations. In this book, Smith argues that the government should allow businesses to have more economic freedom, which allows the consumer to control the market. Overall, the Gilded Age was laissez-faire economics on steroids.
Yes, I am finally done. I did my part in the project.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got time to look at our second political cartoon. Oh, that wasn't funny. Anyway, this cartoon shows a very large man who is representing Andrew Carnegie pouring a large sack of gold. This large sack of gold is titled $100 million for the common good. Despite Carnegie's overall consideration as a robber baron, this political cartoon represents Carnegie's strong philanthropic practices. Many of the same robber barons had similar philanthropic practices, actually. After Carnegie retired at age 66, he made strives to become a philanthropist, believing in the gospel of wealth. The gospel of wealth is the idea that wealthy people were morally obligated to give their money back to society. Right after he retired, he founded the Carnegie Institution to fund scientific research and establish a pension fund for teachers. Carnegie became a very strong advocate for education. He also strongly supported world peace causes. By 1911, Andrew Carnegie had donated over 90% of his around $400 million lifetime earnings to good causes. This is how most people like him earned a decent enough name for themselves. Starting in 1888, American citizens would become very unhappy with the current state of their government. Citizens were ultimately concerned with government corruption, the money issue, and tariffs. Because of this, the government did start to crack down on these issues. However, still no action was being taken to limit big money corporations. This source of distraction promoted big businesses. This image on the screen shows normal, everyday American citizens supporting the business giants around a structure made out of everyday goods that they work to produce. Linen, cloth, iron, and lumber workers all making little money compared to the massive money bags up on top. Times would be destined for a change.
Hey guys, welcome back to my MySpace. Today I'm going to be protesting against big money corporations, tariffs, and corruption. I have a feeling these monopolistic practices are going to die soon, just like MySpace. Anyway, let's start protesting. Come out, cowards! Come out!
What's all this hullabaloo about?
More government action needs to be taken about corruption, tariffs, and big money corporations. What year is it even? 1890s or something?
Yeah, I mean, people like Jake Gold and Vanderbilt are completely dominating the railroad industry. My railroad line is a fumbling, and my family's a starving. What you gonna do about it, huh?
I knew that was coming. You guys have been protesting for like 8 whole days. Come on now, go home.
Raj, chill. I finally think I know how we can handle this. Look, I've been thinking maybe these people could be right.
What?
And the Oscar for Best Actor goes to Raj Derry.
Yeah, big money corporations have a total grip on their industry and somewhat on the government. We gotta propose a law that limits the success these industry leaders can have.
How are you gonna do that, big brain?
We need to tell them we're gonna create a law that limits the monopolistic practices of industries and promotes trade against them.
Alright, let's call it the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. We've come up with a way to limit the success of big business corporations. Behold, the Sherman Antitrust Act.
Wow, that's nice. I'll believe when I see it pass, though. For taking so long, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you guys.
Major regulation of big business started with the Sherman Antitrust Act. It increased economic competitiveness and ensured diverse economic activity. One way it did this is it required the Standard Oil Company to split up into several different companies. Even though it received major public approval, the act itself did not succeed very well, as it was easy to slip around it. Also, in 1887, the Interstate Commerce Act was passed, which was an attempt to regulate monopolistic practices in the railroad industry. In conclusion, we believe that the leaders of industry during the Gilded Age were robber barons because of their unlawful and dirty business tactics to eliminate any opposition that created a threat. We believe their charitable acts and donations to various causes were to create a better name for themselves, while also to cover up their shady acts. While the government did attempt to regulate monopolistic practices with acts such as the Sherman's Antitrust Law and Interstate Commerce Law, the acts only sort of worked out, as people found ways around them. Although people then and now try to create monopolistic businesses, it doesn't really work out. Let's find the answer out together. Spy case, undercover. Start. Here, actually, can you lower it?
Hey, James.
Oh, hey.
This couldn't possibly get over this monstrosity of a river.
Yeah, I told you about that earlier.
Wait, what do I say after that?
Well, guys, the bridge is done. What do you think?
Is it safe?
Go ahead and try it. I guarantee it, dude.
Right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.